Listen, my family says things to me all the time of like, who could date you? You're a slob. And I'm like, there's a lot of people who want to date this fucking pig.
Uh-huh. Okay? Hello and welcome back to the You Up Podcast Friday Feels episode. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Jared Freed. So good to be back here with you, Jordana. We love a Friday Feels. We love bringing people into the weekend, so to speak.
Indeed.
Getting you ready.
Yes.
Part of your car ride. Maybe you're going somewhere. You're flying somewhere. We're in your ears. We're there to take your brain off of whatever troubles you're going through and give you maybe a laugh or a perspective that you enjoy.
Yeah, 1 week until Valentine's Day.
Oh, my God. Why'd you bring us back to reality?
Sorry.
What are you going to do for V-Day?
February is a reality month.
It is all reality. Valentine's Day, I'm turning 40.
Big month.
It's coming.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. We taped this a little bit before.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like, it's still very January to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
you're
when
sort of like, oh, that's a next month problem.
We'll deal with February when it comes, but we're like 2 days away. Like,
I mean, nothing to deal with. Age is just a number, Jared.
That's right.
Right?
40 is just 40.
We got to throw you a You Up birthday party.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I mean, 40, every time I say it, it feels like I'm talking like I'm not even in my own body.
40 is different than being in your 40s, I think. You're freshly new. You're new here.
I'm a couple weeks away from being in my 40s. I'm turning 40 is different than I'm
yes.
40.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's gross.
Now you're a young man. Do you feel like we've talked about this before. I do feel like 40 is the female 30.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for men it's got to be the female 30.
Right. Because when you're 30 as a woman, I think you're like, I got to get my shit together.
Right. I do have an element of like, yeah. I think 40. I if I remember all the, I guess I won't get like the big blowout birthday bash that all these single 30-year-olds got.
You could.
I don't want it.
Okay.
Not a big birthday guy.
I didn't think so. Yeah.
No one gets a bigger birthday party than a single 30-year-old woman
or unmarried 30-year-old woman. That was I did a big 30th for that.
What did you do for your 30th?
I did a wine tour.
Mm-hmm.
I did like a wine tour birthday.
Yeah.
Big.
Of Long Island or like Napa?
Of Long Island. I mean, I was 30.
That's for real. That's a wake up call. Not even a Napa.
I know. Maybe for 40.
Yeah.
Maybe for 40. I've got a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not. We got to get there. Like, I really.
You won't know until you're there.
Right. I keep having this image of myself alone on an international flight. Like,
is it giving you anxiety?
I don't know. I just keep seeing it. And I don't know what that means to me.
Imagine if you were an economy on your 40th
That would
birthday.
be like a moment where I like need to like just switch my career. I need to like change something.
Reevaluate everything.
Right, everything needs to change.
All right, at least you're doing it right.
If I wasn't in a lie flat seat, I wouldn't be going at all. Are you
going to tell the pilot it's your birthday?
Someone's going to tell that pilot. Jared Seller, I just want to let everyone know.
I feel like this is all. Yeah, seriously. I feel like this is all the workings for a like movie.
There's something movie about it. Like I was in a Barry's boot camp class, and they were like, "Hey, so and so's doing her 150th class," and I was like, "That's horrific. Like I don't want that."
How many have you taken?
It's happened to me. I had when I first went back to Barry's, it had been years since I've been there, and it happened to be on my 200th class.
Oh, wow.
So they're like, Jared's having his 200th class. Give it up for Jared. And then everyone in the room like looks at you and you kind of feel them being like, you took 200
That's
class?
a nightmare.
That's a body of 200 Barrys. Like, like that's kind of how
we
you
want
feel.
our money back.
Right. Everyone, whoa, what am I doing here? That fat fuck? It's been a 200? So it's like a little bit of that, like with the birthday, like, hey, like I would feel like up in the air. Like if I was on a flight to New Zealand. Yeah, the movie, if they were like, we just want to wish
Oh, yeah.
a happy 40th birthday to our diamond medallion member. Platinum.
There is. I've sent you that scene.
Yeah. And it would be that scene because then there are people like, I guess people would clap.
Yeah.
If I'm having this nightmare.
And the pilot comes and sits next to you.
Just want to thank you.
Yeah.
And where's your family? Where's your wife? I don't have those, sir.
Because you spend like 700 minutes,
700,000
minutes a year on flights. Yeah.
So I have that. That would be like the worst thing that could ever happen to me.
As if someone acknowledged
Your
birthday. Presence.
Yeah, I want to just like clink a glass to myself. You did it.
Right.
40 years on this
Survived.
planet. And then someone's like, no, it's actually 41 years because when you're married, you're 0 years old. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
You're on your 41st year.
Yeah.
On
fuck
Earth.
off.
Yeah. Entering your 41st year. Yeah, I agree. It's like 40 years have been completed.
Right.
Which is like weird.
I don't even, whatever.
Fuck it. Sorry. I'm sorry.
That,
I'm sorry.
Whoever does that to people needs to like look in the mirror, and no one likes to be around you. That's my message to you. Well, it's actually your 40th. If you finish the 40th year, you're 0 years old. I'm getting a headache trying to figure this out.
Yes.
What are we talking about today? Oh, so this is all to say, if you're in New Zealand or Australia, I'll be there for my birthday. Come to the show.
In a great mood.
Not feeling a meltdown at all. So what's going on with you, Jordana? Enough about me and old me.
What's up with me? I got a new coffee machine.
What?
Life's good. I've been it requires a lot of maintenance, so I feel like I'm ready for, a dog or something.
Wait, what made? So you bought a coffee machine that made you have to do more work?
You have to maintain it's so annoying because there's no amount of money that you can spend on anything where you just don't have to take care of it.
Yeah, I don't like that.
It's almost like the more expensive something is, the more you have to take care of it.
Yeah, this is my issue in life.
Right?
I'm like, get it, and then I get it, and they're like, do you want to read the directions? I'm like, no.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to take care of itself. Where's that option?
I think that's called going to a coffee house and ordering from the coffee people.
Should have just done that.
Yeah. What did you get?
I got a Jura. It's like Aileen had it. She said it was good.
And what's the maintenance?
You gotta clean the filter when it gets dirty. You gotta clean the milk system.
The milk?
Refill the beans.
You're having milk?
Empty the drip tray. Yeah, of course I'm having milk.
Okay.
You don't have milk in my coffee?
Yeah, I don't.
I make lattes.
You're making a latte?
Yeah. Well,
regular milk or
regular milk.
Good for you.
Whole milk.
Guess that's how it goes in your mansion.
I get confused with the milks. I feel like everyone tells you all the different milks you're supposed to drink.
I don't. I go
skim milk
black
is bad
coffee.
for you.
Yeah.
Milk, yeah.
It's me.
Oh,
it's
you're
a
one of
calorie
those
decision.
assholes. Yeah.
For me, I'd
Black,
rather
you take it black.
have a heart attack from sweet and low than get fat from milk.
Oh, you put sweet and low in it.
Oh yeah.
I do no
sweet.
sweetener, just
So
milk.
just milk.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a healthier way to go.
Is it? I don't know. Fuck
the
it.
hell knows?
I don't care.
We've
made it this far.
Right.
Almost 40, 35.
If I can just get off this planet quickly.
Yeah, you're here for a good time, not a long time.
No. I don't want to get so old that people have to get me in the car. No.
Yeah, you don't want to be the last one at the party.
No, I want to go old but not a burden.
Okay. Are you one of those people like my dad would always say this, just if I get to that point, just push me off a cliff.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, relax. I'll just poison you. That's way more convenient.
That's less blood on my hands. My grandmother used to say that. My grandmother would always be like, if I can't drive, just kill me.
Yeah.
Just take a gun and shoot me in the fucking face. She would say that to us.
But it's also that sounds difficult too. I don't want to take care of you. I don't want to murder you. They all, is there a third option where I just don't have to see you?
Yeah, I think it's called getting rich enough to hire people
someone to
take
care of this. Yeah.
Yeah. Old sucks.
Right.
Aging really sucks. We talk about, I'm turning 40. Who gives a shit? I'm fine. Feeling like you're trapped and can't do the things you want to do that your mind can do and you can't do.
Right. Well, that's a good point in that, I always like to do this when I get anxious about my age. Mm-hmm. And I've talked about this on Oversharing a little bit, where it's you have to imagine you're 80
mm-hmm.
and then you woke up in your body at 40, 35, whatever you are today. How amazing you'd feel.
I know. Right. I have that feeling when I take 2 days off from drinking. I'm like, what? This is what a human body feels like? Whoa, I have
can do
a Corvette
anything
here. I can really go crazy. Yeah, it's difficult to kind of come to be at peace with your vessel.
Right.
So to speak. That's what it all is. You have to just go, I got to be thankful Like my dad lost hearing in one of his ears just randomly, and now he might get the cochlear.
What's that?
Like it like attaches to your head, like you have like a little like.
He just
piece.
randomly lost hearing. Like one day he couldn't.
It
hear.
was like a virus that just like suddenly he just like gone in one ear.
Is
and
that
I'm like,
affected?
that's annoying. So now it's like hard to talk to him on the phone.
Can
Like,
he just put it to his other ear?
I guess, but like imagine like
Right.
it's like having a clog. Like it's like
No, it's tough because on the one hand you're like, well, I've got one left.
right.
It's still working, but also like
I remember what it was like to live a
Yeah.
more comfortable life. So yeah, it's see here and then like you kind of go, what can I do? You know, like
must be all the
well, it serves him right. His whole life, if he couldn't hear, you go what, like, and you'd be like he played this joke about going deaf, and then
Okay.
it happened.
wow. He manifested it. Words are like spells.
That's right.
Right? All right, should we get into
What
our
are we
episode?
talking about today? Now
Okay,
that we've
now
offended
that
everyone on the
we've
planet?
depressed everyone, the world's ending. You're gonna get old and die. Hi J and J. I'm in my 40s and dating to find a long-term relationship. About 2 years ago, I met a guy.
40s. Ugh. Oh.
You're not one. You can say that for another week. You're not
Right,
one of them. Soon you're gonna be saying one of us.
Right.
About 2 years ago, I met a guy while working. We exchanged business cards. At that time, I immediately noticed that we had the same last name, and he happened to have the same full name as my uncle. I immediately made the comment about our shared names, and I didn't think much more of it. We talked about where we were from and figured we weren't related. A week later, he texted me, reminding me who he was and how we met, and asked if I was single and would be interested in getting a drink.
What a great guy.
I politely declined and actually lied to him, telling him I was seeing someone. Having the same last name made it just too weird for me.
Sorry,
All right.
sir, you have an undesirable name.
That's so weird.
Well, this is this is an icky or picky. They're asking
Yes, well-
whether they're being.
Oh, yeah, I should have
whether
mentioned
this
that.
is an
Icky
ick
or picky,
or
yes.
if they're being picky. But
And then she writes, fast forward to a couple weeks ago, I was chatting with a guy online. We were having a good conversation and planning a date. I'll call him Brian.
hi, Brian.
At this point, I have his first name and cell number, and he has mine. I asked for his email to send him something, and he responded to it, which automatically generated an email signature with his first and last name. That's when I realized we also have the same last name.
If your last name's Smith,
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta expect this.
Relax.
Yeah.
Yeah. I texted him once I realized. He said he had noticed as well. Once again, I'm a little creeped out by it. He didn't seem phased. Creeped out is such a weird word to use to describe this.
It is like, ugh, what? This guy with
Yeah.
his name. Ugh,
Relax.
It's like he's trying
Yeah.
to come after me.
We are certain that we aren't related, but if I'm looking for a long-term relationship, I just can't imagine introducing him to my family or friends and giving them his last name. Am I being too picky here? What are your thoughts? Signed, it's not even a common name. I need to know the last name in order to determine if it's
I don't. No. It's
Whatever.
picky. It's
No, it's picky either way, but I'm
right.
how weird
I am
it
curious.
is. Yeah.
yeah. I am curious, but
It's very
this-
picky.
Here's I will say this to the you hear this from a lot of women, and it's a joke. I get the joke, but there's a fine line between fun joke and this person's like
Annoying?
kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Like I could
she's hit
never
annoying.
date a Jason. You know, I dated a Jason. When I hear that joke of like, you know, men with a J name, again, I'm personalizing. But I don't see that and go, like I get it. Like you had a bad experience with, you know, Johnny.
Sure.
And you're like, I'll never date it. You don't date a Johnny. Like when I hear someone say that, I get the joke. But if they go, there's like an inch forward into that joke even more. My first thought is this person is psychologically like off.
Yeah.
Like,
Grow up.
Yeah,
It's
right.
immature.
Like
Yeah.
they're going through something
Creeped
that they're
out?
like right.
Fuck
Say
off.
creeped out. Like this person had any control over their
Right.
name. All they're
What
doing
would make
is
this
wanting
creepy?
to go out with you. Yeah.
Does she know what creepy means?
I don't know. Creepy
Yeah.
made me. Yeah, I didn't like the way that felt to hear.
Yeah.
Like, ugh, you with your name.
Gross. Yeah. Like
Why
it's
would
just
you-
as much your fault. You're creepy.
Right. Yeah, this is just like one of the but it's funny because like these things start as like jokey jokes.
Right.
They become memes. They become a socially acceptable thing to say, which it is. I hear this all the time, especially from women, where it's like, don't date. You know, I've seen these memes.
Yeah.
The minute I see someone agree with it, like just, and I don't know, it's more a feeling than like what they say. anytime I can't date someone that relates to an ex who I had a bad experience with, I'm like, well, then maybe
that's on you.
You need to go seek out therapy and figure this out, or figure out what happened with this ex before you can move on in the world. Like, I don't agree with you. I'll laugh with you because I'll make conversation comfortable.
If Eleanor Roosevelt could marry this person with the same last name as her, you can too. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
They're both Roosevelt.
Really?
I think they're actually like third cousins or something. So maybe
that's
that's
not a common name.
No, I think they're related.
A lot of Roosevelts.
I think they're like distantly related.
Right.
But like they had the same last name. She married him, kept the last name.
Someone being my mom's name, being my dad's name, like...
Well, those are first names.
Right, right. I'm just saying, like, all those things... Like,
I wouldn't care.
It wouldn't even, like, move the dial for me if I met, like...
I have a lot of those instances. My college boyfriend had the same last name as my mom's maiden name, which is my middle name.
Mm.
So that was his last name was my middle name.
Right.
Technically.
And it's like... It's like sometimes I have a joke. I would say... I say that my dad and I have the same body. And I'm like... I was like, it's uncomfortable to say that you have like the same body as your family, but most people do. Mm-hmm. And I would say, oh, we're like Russian dolls. Like that was like the joke. And then I'd go, and then I had an add-on where I'm like, I could fit inside of you. And then like the crowd, there were certain people in the crowd be like, ew. And I'm like, no, I just said Russian doll.
Right.
Russian doll literally goes inside of it. The idea that I didn't make this sexual. You made it sexual.
Right.
You turned me being inside of you into my finger up my dad's asshole somehow.
Yeah, that's on you. You're weird.
Right.
Yeah.
This isn't the world's problem.
Agreed.
So this is all to say that when I put my finger up my dad's ass, it was a little weird.
But yeah, I've done that. Wasn't weird. It's my mom's dream that I married him.
Really?
So I would have her last name twice.
That's a funny. Why was he a good guy? No.
She just liked the last. Yeah, she just wanted to get rid of my dad's last name and have hers a double.
Totally healthy and reasonable.
Totally.
Let's do an email.
All right, let's do it.
UUP@betches.com. I'll read it. J&J. I'd feather your nuts, Jared, but I'm scared my feathering game may be too strong for you.
Okay. That's creepy.
Well, not to me. A little turned on, to tell you the truth. Long story short, I do CrossFit.
Are you still turned on?
Here we go.
With that, coupled with that.
CrossFit. CrossFit got such a reputation so quickly. Like, that was like the first...
People are still doing CrossFit. I feel like it was very big in a certain time period.
Right. It was like early 2010s, right?
It was the CrossFit guy.
CrossFit guy.
And the joke was like that everyone who did CrossFit would tell you they did CrossFit right away.
Right. And I understood that. And it was a funny joke because they did do that.
Or like vegans, they would say that about too. It was the same joke they used for like a bunch of different things that were popular.
Right. If someone does CrossFit, just ask them. They'll tell you. Like that type of thing. It's still a thing. They have like the CrossFit Games. Like, I just think now the joke has been heard. So they're a little quieter about it.
Right.
You know, like this.
It's overcorrection.
Right. I listen, whatever workout gets
Have you done
through.
CrossFit?
I've never done it.
I did one class once.
Was it fun?
It was a long time ago, but yeah, it was fine. It was like it was not my favorite kind of workout.
Okay.
But.
Well, I think it is pretty understandable that a generation brought up on youth sports and intramurals and being in these like pretend competition things,
right,
would then grow up to do pretend competition things as their workout.
Right.
So she writes, long story short, I do CrossFit.
We made it a long story.
Right. A lot of people make it their whole personality. And while I do spend a lot of time at the gym, I'm wanting to find someone who pulls me away from it a couple times a week. I'm mediocre at it, but it's the form of exercise that I've stuck with the longest. Like, look at how beaten down she is.
Right. Love it. With no judgment.
Yeah, you're cool.
Love it.
I've been on the apps for 3 years. After a failed marriage, an almost marriage, a ton of therapy, and a career change, I'm 34.
That's a lot to have gotten done by 34.
So, right. I was going to say, are you 80? I'm 34 and want to find a partner to start a family with. Well, I do CrossFit. I also hike, go on long road trips, and love to explore the local restaurant scene in Vancouver, British Columbia. I've been to Vancouver. Many
I was
times. We've
Vancouver
been
with
there.
you. We did a show there.
Well,
yeah.
it's funny. That's the most miserable people I've ever been around.
Vancouver people.
It's
Really?
strange. But the tune of her email fits the Vancouver vibe,
Okay.
which is like they have everything. She's like, I go on road trips, I hike, I ski.
I mean, you can do a lot there, yeah.
Everything there, and everyone
I
there
went
is
to
miserable.
a Whistler right after
Right.
our show, yeah.
Everyone there is miserable. They're highly taxed, and they don't think they're getting out. You
I
can
thought
tell.
that the joke was that everyone in Canada was like happy.
Not Vancouverans. They are a sad bunch. All they do is complain about Vancouver. 'Cause
Really?
They're highly taxed, and they don't. I thought about this a lot.
Mm-hmm. I always thought everyone in Canada was like loving it there.
They seem to be angrier these days.
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna be back from Montreal by the time this comes out.
Let us know what the temperature is over
I'm
there
gonna
on the
give you
East
the.
Coast.
I'll let you know what happens. But I just know Vancouver. It was this element of like you're amongst all this amazing stuff, but you don't even have the ability to use it all because it's like unaffordable.
Okay.
Like it was like we're working a lot, we're getting taxed like crazy, we're around these mountains and all this beauty, but like
We can't
no one
enjoy
has a
it.
boat. You know, like I remember I went to this lake that was near the city. A friend of mine brought me to this lake that was like the most beautiful place I've ever seen. And they had these donuts that like Adele loved. And we were walking around and I'm like, do you know anyone who lives, like, does anyone have a house here? And they were like, I've never met someone who has a house here. Like, I've
Because
never.
it's so expensive.
So expensive. So it's
Right.
like this weird thing of like, if you're young and living there, it almost like, I think all the goods of Vancouver feel out of reach.
Okay.
And it's like, but it's all there in front of you.
Right.
And it's like hyper.
You can look, but you can't touch.
I play 3 different co-ed sports and I'm involved in coaching youth sports.
All right,
This is
very
a
sporty.
big calendar to keep.
Yeah.
Here's the kicker. Guys say that they're intimidated by how strong I am. I'm 5'4" and weigh 200 pounds. I hit my protein goals daily and can outlift a lot of guys. I love being strong and I don't want to change that, but my family thinks that it's a deal breaker for a lot of guys I meet. My view is that if they're scared of my strength, I don't want them. But at the same time, I want to find someone. What do I do? Please help. After all kinds of body issues, surgically repaired injuries after an NCAA soccer career, and years of relationship trauma, my strength is one of my favorite parts of myself. But how do I keep it from scaring away possible partners? Thank you. All the love for what you do every week. I can't get enough of your voices. Signed, a CrossFit betch.
Good email.
It's a good email. Mm-hmm. I appreciate their feelings. Can I doubt the premise?
Can you doubt that men are intimidated by her strength?
That men say they're intimidated by how strong I am?
You're saying you don't believe that?
Well, she goes from saying, I don't believe that.
You don't believe that they're saying that?
It's a weird thing to say to someone. I can't understand how that comes
I can see
out.
how that would happen. Like you go on a date or something where someone talks about their CrossFit experience and they say, I can lift this amount. You might be like, all right, that's like a lot. That is a lot. I'm a little
right.
Wow, or like wow, like I could, and maybe they wouldn't say that exactly. They could say like, wow, I couldn't even lift that, or I could never lift that. I could see like maybe they're not saying to her, I'm intimidated by your strength, but maybe they're like, oh wow, like that's impressive. Like I could never do that.
Right.
In the same way, like I would be intimidated playing basketball with an Olympic basketball player or something.
Sure. I don't doubt that there are people that are intimidated by a strong woman. Mm-hmm. No, that's not what I'm
physically
doubting.
strong,
But,
not
right.
metaphorically.
But like to say to someone's face,
I wonder if they're saying it like that or if it's coming out in other ways.
They write later on, but my family thinks it's a deal breaker for a lot of guys I meet. Mm-hmm. So those are 2 very different things.
Right.
Your family saying something. Listen, my family says things to me all the time of like, who could date you? You're a slob. And I'm like, there's a lot of people who want to date this fucking pig.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I can find a date for this piglet in the sty. But I don't take that response seriously from them. Like I actually, her family's opinions are stupid in my opinion.
Well, it seems like you guys are you're not complaining to your parents that you probably like you're single, right?
Fine, but if you complain about you're single and then their response is, well, maybe it's that your biceps are too big. Like I think that's actually crazy. Like to me, like, listen, download the app Field. and you will find a butt for every seat. There are people looking for very specific things.
But she also probably doesn't want to be like fetishized.
Sure. I mean, I'd like to be fetishized. I would love for a woman to be like, oh my God, your eyebrows just make me come right away. I do understand how that gets
I agree with you. I think the family's perspective is not helping things and is not. What is she supposed to do with that? Even if that were true. Okay, I'll just live a life that I'll mold to make sure that it's welcoming to a man. That's a crazy way to live your life.
She says that's her favorite thing about herself.
Yeah, and she loves it. Yeah.
Great.
No, and
so
I think it's great, and I think sure, will there be some guys who are like, I'm not really into that scene, that look, whatever it is, that as they would say for any kind of person. There's going to be people who are not buying what you're selling, who aren't into the lifting thing. But there's going to be a lot of people who are.
Right. For every guy that doesn't like it, there's a guy that likes it.
Mm-hmm.
So changing is not going to help you because then you're not yourself.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I think you got to keep doing you, boo. Like, it's like...
Yeah, I think keep doing you. And if she's so passionate about this and she's passionate about these activities, I would try to meet people who also love these activities because they're going to be the ones who respect what you do the most.
That's a great point because she even writes in her emails, she's like, I'd like to find someone that gets me away from CrossFit. I don't think that if you met someone at CrossFit, that means more CrossFit.
Right. We're only going to be together doing CrossFit.
Right. Maybe you two can convince each other to stay home a little bit more.
Right.
Rather than go and, lift the heavy bag.
Yeah, but they're also going to value the same things as you.
Right.
Being physically fit, being outside. Like, you're just like more, if you meet someone through doing stuff that you love,
yeah,
I think they're more likely to, one, respect everything you've done in that space. So she's saying this like is a huge point of pride for her. Mm-hmm. Who's going to appreciate it more than someone who's also doing it?
I'm with you. And again, I know this is tough. And it's so funny to come back to this because Vancouver, the most miserable people I've ever met. Not bad people, good people, fun. But they all had this like negative bend.
Okay.
Her email has that. I'm mediocre at it, but it's a form of exercise that I've stuck with the longest. That's how you explain something you do many times a week.
Right. Well, she's trying not to brag.
Be a bragger. Get into it. Okay. You like it. It's the best workout for me. That's what makes me feel good. It makes me feel strong, which is my favorite thing about myself. Like, words are my spells. If we go back to that, I think she needs a little bit of I think avoiding, and this goes back to meeting people at things you love to do. Let's not avoid who we are. And I think this is she's 34. It's like a millennial thing. We're a little bit more, we talked about this on Benefits episode, this idea. I think a lot of millennials are just we're aware of the noise of how people would talk shit about us. We kind of
trying to get ahead of it. Right.
We always trying to get ahead of what the joke is about us. We're a little sensitive.
Right. We want to make the joke before someone makes it at our expense.
She did that.
Yeah.
Or actually we did that. We made fun of CrossFit. We went through the history of CrossFit and how so many losers did it. And then she talked about how I'm not one of those.
Well, that's why I appreciated that about this.
Right.
This email.
We liked
also,
it. But I think
I get why she does it. Yeah.
Right. You can speak that way, but also act. You can speak with some passion for it.
Right.
And I think that will rub off to find more people at CrossFit that are and again, if a guy's on a date with you, I think your strength is why he's a part of the reason he's there. Your look, your physicality is part of that equation.
Yeah,
why he's on the date.
She's already been engaged twice, so clearly there's people who are interested.
Right. I'd love for her to feather my nuts as hard as possible. Well, maybe next time I'm in the Couve.
Yeah,
Great restaurants in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most beautiful, wonderful places I've ever been, and I couldn't believe that.
So you hate it, but you love it. Love hate.
I loved it, and then I would say how great it was, and people were like, "Really here?" What? I'm looking at a fucking snow-capped mountain.
It's because they know the ins and outs of it.
Right. Well, that was the thing.
Yeah, right.
It's just a surprising part. But
all right. Well, we did it. We solved dating.
It. Well, I guess everyone's gonna be fine.
Yes. We'll be back next week.
Boom.
Kate McAuliffe is our senior producer. Our editor is Emily Freed. Candice Maniga is our senior social producer. Our associate producer is Will Maxwell. Additional production help from Shannon Jimenez Sasson. Be sure to follow us at u.up.podcast and send us your emails to uup@betches.com.